Hey guys, welcome back to Elise Reads and Speaks. So we are having a bit of a change in scenery because I figured MacGyver would like to help me go over these books that I read this month. So we're just having a bit of an informal time today. Hope that's cool with you. Alright, so today I am bringing you my September wrap-up. This was not a fantastic reading month for me. I just did not find a lot that I was crazy about. But there were some gems in there, so, I mean, it wasn't awful, but it just wasn't great for me. Alright, so the first one that I started with this month was Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, and I'm sure you all know what Shadow and Bone is about with the Grisha trilogy. However, I was completely new to it. So I ended up giving this book 3.5 stars. I think on Goodreads I rounded it up to 4. So about this series, I could tell it's one of those that I would have been super into had I read it even 5 years ago. But I think now that I'm reading books a bit more than I used to, and I'm refining my tastes and getting more into things that I like and finding more things that I don't like, it's just one of those that it could have been a 5-star had I read it so many years ago. But now that I have read better things, not so much a 5-star for me. However, that's not to say that I didn't enjoy it though, because I still gave it 3.5 stars and I rounded it up to 4, and I did go on. So next I went on to Spellcaster by Claudia Gray. I listened to that audiobook and it was okay. I think I gave it 3 stars, probably more like a 2.5, except Goodreads doesn't give half stars, so 3 stars it is. It wasn't anything particularly memorable. I mean, maybe I'll go on to the next one. It's not something I'm chomping at the bit to read. So if you've been watching my channel, you know that I love the Firebird trilogy by Claudia Gray. So I'm finding that things are a bit hit and miss with me regarding Claudia Gray, because I love the Firebird trilogy, wasn't crazy about Evernight. I mean, the first one was alright, it was different, and then those books got progressively worse, and so I tried Spellcaster, and it was just alright. Like, I don't know, it was just kind of like cheesy. And I guess that's what some YA literature is, and I usually enjoy it, but it just, I don't know, that kind of cheese, not for me. Next, I went on to Otherworld by Jason Segel and Kirsten Miller, and I can't tell you what happened in that book. I gave it 2 stars, I think because there were some things that were original, but I can't tell you much about the plot, okay? I don't recommend. Next, I went on to Heretics Anonymous by Katie Henry. I listened to that via audiobook, and I enjoyed the narrator, who I highlighted in my last video of audiobook narrators I recommend. I'll link that below if you're interested and haven't checked it out yet. So even though I enjoyed the audiobook, it was just kind of like a middle-of-the-road book for me. I don't know, with a name like Heretics Anonymous, and me not being a religious person, I just don't like religion in general, any religion, I was expecting to have these questions posed to me, and maybe it would just give me something to think about. And I didn't really get that from this book. It seemed like, I don't know, just a bunch of kids going to a school and talking. It was just kind of lackluster, you know? It really centered around this relationship that wasn't gratifying in any way. It missed the mark for me. Then I went on to my second physical book of the month, that is Leigh Bardugo's Siege and Storm, and I enjoyed this one again. So I'm finding with her writing, or at least in the Grisha trilogy, because I don't remember this happening in Six of Crows, there's a lot of setting up that takes place before you dive into the story. So I think that's what's holding me back from really rating these books well. I gave this one 3.5 as well, so, you know, rounded it up to 4. I'm finding that there's a lot of setup. You get like a little bit of a climax, and then the story ends. So, I don't know, maybe that's just what's holding it back for me. And also, I feel like I should highlight in both Shadow and Bone and The Siege and Storm, and I'm guessing it's going to happen in Ruin and Rising. I'm not done with it yet, so I don't know. But you should know, if you're like me and you get a little sad at animals dying, that animals do die, okay? I didn't realize that's like what the book centers around with these amplifiers, and animals do die, and it is sad, okay? So if you're anything like me, give that a thought before you try this series. Okay, the next audiobook I went into, I loved. It was My Lady Jane, and I wrote down all of the authors because I know I wouldn't remember them all. There's Cynthia Hand, Brodi Ashton, and Jodi Meadows. Oh my gosh, this book was so funny. I don't know how nobody has told me about this book before, because you know me that I love Tudor history. Love it, love it, love it. This book centers around Lady Jane Grey and her 9 days as a ruler of England. However, it's not like that historical fiction that you're expecting, because people are turning into animals and there's magic and it's fabulous. And the audiobook was so good. Catherine Kilgren, who I also recommended in my narrator recommendation video, she was so great. Like, this book was so funny. It was cleverly witty. The parts of historical fiction that you know have some gray pieces in there, it got you really thinking, like, oh, you know, like maybe they did turn into animals. It was just so good. It was so lighthearted. I thought it was just fantastic. I don't know why people don't talk about this book more. If you have been on the fence about whether or not you should read Lady Jane, highly recommend. Highly, highly recommend. So right after that, I plunged into My Plain Jane, same authors, listened to the audiobook, and oh man, was that a disappointment. I was so bummed. This one isn't about Lady Jane Grey. This one is about Jane Eyre, and it takes some liberties with that story. And I really like Jane Eyre, so this one doesn't focus so much about people turning into animals. This is more about ghosts, and that Jane Eyre has this special power that she can command ghosts to do what she wants. I mean, that sounds cool. And if you're into Jane Eyre, I'm sure that this, in general, just sounds really cool, and that's why I wanted to listen to it, and I was very excited, because I loved the first one in this Lady Janie's series she's got going on, and it was just lacking. It did not have the same sense of humor. I did not think it was so clever. I was not into the characters, which is baffling to me, because I really like the characters in the original Jane Eyre. You would think that you'd take them from one and put them into another, and I would like them just the same, and I didn't. Okay, so I highly recommend Lady Jane. I do not recommend Plain Jane. And to finish out the month, I ended with a 1-star that I DNF'd today. That is The Coldest Girl in Coldtown by Holly Black. I am as shocked as you are, because I loved The Cruel Prince. I loved The Wicked King. I know that I highly enjoyed The Darkest Part of the Forest. So what the hell did I just listen to? It was awful. I mean, the story was boring, the characters were bland, the audiobook, like, what was up with the audiobook? The narrator was not good, and then they had this, like, cheesy, suspenseful music in the background whenever it would get to one of those parts. Like, it reminded me if I was watching, like, Scream, and it had some, like, eerie music in the background. And maybe that sounds good to some people, but when I'm tuning into an audiobook, it's not what I want. Especially if it's not like a full production of it, you know? I think of Illume, which is like top-notch of audiobooks for me, and that is a stellar piece of art, like a full cast, there's sound effects, you feel like you're in the spaceship or whatever, traveling with them, it's amazing. This was just like you'd be hearing somebody's voice, and then all of a sudden this music would rise up from the background. It was awful, it was atrocious, and I got 70% through, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I can't listen to another 4 hours of this. I can't do it. And I never DNF books. I never do. This is only my second DNF of 2019. And I can't even tell you the last book I DNF'd before this year, because I really don't like not finishing books. But my thought is, if you have forced me to not finish your book, you have earned that 1 star, because I always push through with everything. And if I can't push through with this book, you are earning that 1 star. Okay, so as you see, I did not have the best reading month, but there were some gems in there. Like, I'm enjoying the Grisha trilogy, and My Lady Jane was amazing. It was amazing. I'm actually looking forward to reading it again, you know, not in the near future, but I know that I will eventually, because I just thought it was that great. So again, there were some good things, but mostly it was just kind of like a reading month. All right. Anyway, thank you for tuning in to Elise Reads and Speaks for this very informal September wrap-up. My man MacGyver, he's conked out right now. I don't even think you can see his head. Okay. Anyway, again, thank you for tuning in. I'll catch you next time, guys. Bye!